Nigel Farage is very much in sort of angry Nigel mode. You know, he's very serious. It's very. I think he needs to step back from that. You know, if I was advising him, I would say just chill out a bit. You know, I think what you need to take into this by-election campaign is a little bit of a sense of fun.
Nigel Farage is poised to stand almost uncontested after Labour, the Tories and the Liberal Democrats, and indeed the Greens, said they would not contest a by-election in Clacton in Essex. He's facing 2 investigations over gifts from wealthy benefactors and says he's done nothing wrong. A senior member of Reform UK, none other than Nadeem Zahawi, has told Times Radio the party is being attacked by the deep state.
The deep state is after Nigel. There are leaks, illegal leaks from parts of government. That is all happening. Why? Because Nigel threatens the status quo. That is why. So that is happening. And Nigel is a fighter. He's taking his message, his party, to the country. And the way you do that in our democracy is you go to your constituency, and your constituents will speak for themselves and for the rest of the nation.
I could listen to that clip all day. It's comedy gold. But listening with me was the journalist Nick Tyrone. He's the author of the forthcoming book, Rise of Reform. It may have to be retitled Rise and Fall of Reform. And he's spent a lot of time with Reform UK. Nick, let's just very quickly start by asking you about the kind of last 24 hours or so. I mean, it was less than 24 hours when Nigel made this announcement. I imagine you've got some good sources in Reform. How's it gone down within the party? Do you have a kind of feeling?
It feels very messy. It feels very chaotic. It feels a bit all over the place, like they're not quite sure what to do. I would say that Reform are a startup, basically. They haven't been around for a long time. And that has inherent advantages and it has inherent disadvantages, because the disadvantage being you don't have the same systems that you have. You don't have the same people who've been around forever and ever. You don't have that, what's the institutional kind of memory. Exactly. Yeah. Memory is a great word. And I think Reform have slightly paid for that over the last 24 hours. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Nigel Farage's announcement that he's resigning and there's going to be this by-election, it feels a little bit like he did it in a fit of pique. It felt a little bit like he needed to do something, and so this is what he's doing. I don't know if they anticipated everybody stepping down. I think they probably felt like that would be too difficult to coordinate between all those different parties, but it just sort of happened organically, as it were. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thinking as well, that I can imagine being in the sort of smoke-filled room. It is Reform, after all. And they were thinking, how do we get out of this mess that we're in with Nigel constantly being questioned about these donations? What we'll do is we'll have a by-election. It's an appeal to the people, and we'll see off all the mainstream parties, and we'll be able to go around and tell people, the people of Clacton have given me the green light, and we defeated all the parties. And lo and behold, none of the parties are going to stand. That can't be that. I don't think they war-gamed that. That's my instinct.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think there's 3 ways this goes for Farage and Reform from here. One of which is, and I don't know if it's too late for this to actually happen. In other words, there's been too many formal things that have gone on that I'm not aware of. But I don't think it's entirely out of the question that they just do a reverse on this and they call it off. They wait a few days, they go into next week and they say, look, we wanted to do this, but the establishment has stood against it, all that sort of stuff. I mean, that takes...
Because Nigel Farage technically hasn't resigned yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that would carry with it enormous risks and would make them look a bit foolish. But the thing is, they might, on the whole, feel like that's probably the least risky thing to do. I think if they go ahead with it and the by-election happens, I sort of go, it's one of 2 ways. One of which is it's a bit of a disaster for them. And I think if they keep going on the deep state stuff...
A disaster in what sense?
Well, so let's imagine something like Farage gets 53% and Binface gets like 45. Then it looks a bit... Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think the way that could happen is if, Nigel Farage is very much in sort of angry Nigel mode. He's very serious. It's very... I think he needs to step back from that. If I was advising him, I would say just chill out a bit. I think what you need to take into this by-election campaign is a little bit of a sense of fun, a little bit of a, you really care about your constituents, you're sort of bonding with your constituents. It needs lots of drinking in pubs. It needs him to kind of have a smile on his face. Because I think the thing about this by-election is it's a joke. It will be a joke. It's Farage versus Binface.
So you've got pull out, you've got neck and neck with Binface. What's your third?
So the third one is that he goes in with the kind of a positive thing. He tries to, dare I say it, do some sort of Ed Vaizey-esque stunts. He really tries to get stuck into the community, shows he cares about it. I think if that, as I say, the by-election has become a joke already before it's even begun. The thing is, Farage can either be in on the joke, if you like, and take that position where people go, almost like this is almost a repeat of him being on I'm a Celebrity or something like that. Like he's using this almost as a publicity stunt and he's trying to get the maximum out of it. I think that probably works out the best for him. And then maybe at the end of it, he gets like 70% of the vote, 75. And that doesn't really change anything, but at least he's kind of got out of the disaster situation.
Of course, he risks, even if he gets 70% of the vote, he risks getting that on a very low turnout.
Correct.
He could have like a 15% turnout if there's no
easily,
credible candidate against him.
I think he probably will be a very low turnout because I think he'll get a high percentage of the vote on a low turnout because it will basically be the people who really care about for us, the real reformers, come out and vote. And I think trying to get the left, I mean, I know they're trying, but I think trying to get the anti-reform vote to galvanise around Count Binface,
It's an interesting point you make about Farage coming across as a kind of serious politician taking on the establishment. It is fraught with difficulty if ultimately the only people standing against him are fringe candidates. I mean, I went up to campaign for David Davis. I now cannot remember. I was sort of PTSD what it was like when he called that absurd by-election. But I don't think he had many serious candidates against him. I can't remember now. But Farage risks, if it's a sort of 6-week campaign, of looking kind of crazy because literally, we were joking earlier that we had to spend hours reading out all the candidates for the Makerfield by-election. If Times Radio presenters are in here every week saying, and the candidates are Nigel Farage Reform, Count Binface Party.
Yeah.
It's just going to make it, with every day that passes, more absurd.
He has to go with the silliness of it. Whether he will or not, I don't really know. I'd say comparing it to the David Davis by-election that you referred to in 2008, I think it's worth mentioning that Davis was just much less of a national figure. He was much less well known. So I think to make him look ridiculous, because basically what it was when everybody stood down was, look, mate, who do you think you are? Whereas I think that's harder to do on Farage.
Can we just quickly, we're running out of time, but this fit of peak point is really interesting to me. Farage could have fronted up the allegations and just said, fine, I accept these. I'm not denying them at all. If I've broken the rules, I'll accept the verdict. I was unaware, blissfully unaware that MPs had to report what they'd earned a year before they became an MP. I made a mistake. Why has he reacted in such an adverse way, first of all to the press scrutiny and now ultimately calling this by-election?
I mean, ultimately, I can't say for sure, but if I had to guess, I think that the pressure's got to him, it seems like, a little bit. And I guess it was always bound to. I think part of the problem is
partly because of the lack of success in recent by-elections?
No, I don't think so. I think it is just the pressure. I think it is the press scrutiny. It's just partly designed to press his buttons, and I think it probably has. I think that if he wants to continue, he needs to get over that. He needs to get the other side of that, and we'll see if he does.
I mean, absolutely, we'll see if he does get on the other side of that. I mean, there are some people who like to say Nigel Farage doesn't really want to be Prime Minister, and this should be seen in that context. Is that a fair accusation?
I don't think so. I think he does want to be Prime Minister. I think why he wants to be Prime Minister, maybe that's another thing, and I don't know. But I think he at the very least wants to become Prime Minister to have quote unquote won.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Close the chapter.
It's the thing, it's the final victory, if you like.
Absolutely. Well, Nick Tyrone, fascinating discussion there. He is the author of the forthcoming book, Rise of Reform. Thank you for coming in and talking about why Nigel Farage may have called this increasingly absurd by-election.